All right, now it's the show you've all been waiting for. It is the Outlier Show. So, quickly, I want to show you what I've been working on for the last 72 hours. And that is, I dug up out of my archives the last 5 years of data sets used for this course. You can see here, I've got the semesters over here on the right. I'll try to zoom in a little bit. Be a lot of moving around. So, from spring of 17 until fall of 2021, where we are, I've got the total number of claims. So the total number over those 5 years is a little over 12,000. I have the dates covered in all of them. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those yet, but I put it in here for play time. The total paid for that particular data set, as you can see, it's the third lowest, actually, in the last 5 years. I've got the overall averages, which we know it's kind of crap. The medians, the percent of $0 claims, again, we've got a very low number. I had indicated that last week. We have the lowest number I've ever had. So that influences, some of the overall statistics. Later on, it'll be nice. Here's the max. Our max is the second highest I've ever seen. That's interesting. I've got the percent max. Our percent max is the highest I've ever seen. So just letting you all know, I'm going to be, even though sometimes I make a reference to experiences I've had before, sometimes I get thrown a data set that's a little bit different. And so that's what we have in this case. I now have added standard deviation. It's not something you have to do. But because we shouldn't do it, because we don't have a normal set of data, not a normal as in a normality, meets the minimum requirements for normality, where our standard deviation is higher than it's ever been. Two reasons for that. We have one of the highest maxes, and we have the lowest number of, or percent of $0 claims. Both of those are causing the standard deviation to expand wider than it normally is. Percent open, it's low. But we had some lower ones here because we had greater numbers. So look at the overall numbers here. You guys are lucky. This is one of the smallest data sets I've ever assigned. So yeah, a lot easier to work with, I hope you guys realize. I put in the company information. As you can see, it's just the last 3 semesters that I've tried to get a little bit more data, a little bit more insight. Then I've got the count above 50. This came from the distribution. We only had 10. It's a low number compared to the others. So we don't have a lot of high numbers, though we have the highest. As you can see, so that means it's more extreme. And that's actually the definition of extreme. And that makes it a little bit more difficult. And of course, it readily identifies maybe just a few outliers versus a bigger group. We'll see, though. This is the percent of count above 50. We're at 2.6%, about the 4th or 5th highest. What I did is I sorted out by the top 1%. Sorry, sorted by high to low. What's the top 1%? As you can see, we're the third lowest. We take it from that perspective. We have, which means it dips down fast. And we'll take a look at that. We kind of already did. But no, we'll take a look at it today. Sorry. The percent of the top 10, that's the numbers. I divided the standard deviation by the max to get more of a referenced standard deviation. And we're at 8.4. It's higher, but this is a tighter variance here, kind of nice. I then multiplied it times the n time divided by 2. I just want to see if that meant anything. So these are the actual number of outliers using my visual approach. Not ideal. It's creative. And you could see these numbers, not all of them are close. Some are higher, some are lower, some are closer. I was looking for a trend. I was really, really hoping that I would find a natural existing trend that I could tell you all, calculate the standard deviation divided by the max, multiply it times the number divided by 2, and we would get some number that we could use. Fortunately, it works sometimes, but not always. So these are the numbers I came up with, the visual. This is the amount of money that got removed, the amount of claims paid that got removed. This is the percent of it from the perspective of the total paid. This is the perspective of the outliers by count. Should we see a Pareto ratio here? Not necessarily, because that's not what we're trying to do. We're just trying to identify what the outliers might be. And it's interesting. I don't even think it. No, actually, it doesn't doesn't correlate significantly. This would be the new max number, and this is the percent of the influence. So we got down to a 293. I had a 298 at one point, a 253. I say typically rule of thumb would be under 2, and that's what I had for 4 semesters straight. But sometimes you just can't do it. It just, the data, you have to let the data tell you the story. So I created some, these are some corollary graphs. So there's a significant correlation between the percent count greater than 50K and the percent total paid of the top 1% most expensive, as you can see. It's a negative trend, but it's a negative relationship. So the lower this number, the higher this number, the higher this number, the lower this number. And I have the R-square, and anything above 0.5 isn't too bad. And then 2 others, I was just kind of messing around. I was looking at the trend between, and I can click on this, the standard deviation divided by the max and the outlier percent by total paid and percent count. So they both came up significant. One was positive, one was negative, but the R-squares are below 5, so not a great representation. I was just exploring. I was hoping that I could give you something, and I didn't. You might say I wasted time. In the first video, the intro video, I brought you to the Department of Workforce Development, and then we went to safety something. I can't remember what the tab was, but then I went to the statistics. And so I'd referred to this particular table here, and I've got the averages of things. So from 2009 to 2018, and I just added these today. This is from the Department of Workforce Development, and this is something we can start comparing to our data. Although it only goes up to 2018, they do that because there's a delay as far as things getting green. The 8-year average is the 09 through 16. And really, what have they done? So overall, what have they done? They were higher here, and they came down to 10. They went up, they went down, they came back up. What is this, a roller coaster? But we know this is too general. So then what I started doing is looking at it from an accident source. So slip, trip, and fall, not otherwise classified. Slip, trip, and fall, ice and snow. It varies, and it really just depends on how many severe cases there are. Somebody slips on ice and snow, they bump their rump, or maybe they hurt their wrist, or maybe they hurt their leg. If they hit their head, that could be a lot more expensive. And so I think the higher years, we probably have a few severe falls on ice, whereas other years maybe they weren't. They were less severe. I think that's the best way to say. And I've got same level, miscellaneous, strain, sprain, strain, struck by, and then we've got by nature of injury. And what I was doing was I was looking at accident source based on a parent code. So I was trying to combine certain things, and I just found it really interesting that we can use actual reported work comp data to what we have. And their numbers are a lot higher than we will find. And it looks like there's overall a downward trend in most of the areas. But if we go back up here, we can just look at the 8-year averages. That these are averages. And what is the average for our data set? Well, I could click on it. Oh, and that was me kind of playing around with data. I'm going to do that for you here in a little bit. Actually, we're at 8 minutes, so I'm going to stop this video here after I explain this. What was our average? 7,000. Standard deviation was 25,000. Ridiculous, to be honest. Our high was 319. Our median was 716. Let's go back to this. And so these averages are higher overall. So the company that we are analyzing, although there is, what's going to be interesting is the outlier analysis, because we're already below our state average. What's going to happen, unless we're just looking at paid indemnity, because I think it's all indemnified claims in which we're higher, but when we remove a chunk of these really expensive claims, what's going to happen? And that's the big question. And then the next question is, are these most expensive claims, are they different? Are they just so rare that only these types of really rare instances wouldn't normally fall under the normal guise or attention of the safety program, and so we have to shift attention to them? Or are they very similar to the more common, less severe? And if so, then they will be captured in the work we do. They should be reduced as we try to attempt to reduce exposures. So I'm going to wrap up this one right now. I'll be back in the next one with our data set, and we're going to do some outlier analysis. And then in the final video, we will get into the trend. And that one will be a little bit longer because I'm going to do it both with and without outliers.